welcome back to Diary of an Empath. I'm so excited to have you back, two-time reigning champion. And I have to start out by saying, usually I start this podcast with like, what's your mission? But I need to just tell you that when you did my astrology reading, and I've had different readings over the years, it created such a big shift in my life. I made this huge jump with my career. I left the federal system. I made the jump into my career. And I cannot tell you how powerful and validating it was. And you were so right. Why? Why were you right?
I love the question. First of all, I just want to announce to this audience, I don't do very rarely. I mean, I did this specifically because I'm in love with this woman because she did an incredible first podcast, and I couldn't say thank you enough because it doesn't happen all the time that people do excellent podcasts. Second of all, I have 23 certified astrologers that I've trained, and I do this game called matchmaking where I see your chart and then I connect you to one of the astrologers I've trained who matches you. So I want to just do a kind of a little disclosure, honesty, because people always want me to do readings and I don't. Why that happened? The answer why? When someone comes to an astrologer and they are at that critical juncture where they really are, and you were suffering for having stayed too long somewhere, where you really needed a kick in the ass, where you needed an astrological validation. And by the way, your astrology at the moment was demanding change. But we don't do that when you're Scorpio, Saturn's in Scorpio and Capricorn, and your sun's up in the top of the chart and you're feeling so responsible professionally and you're always trying to be the goody, 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 goody. You need someone to go, hey. And that's what a really good astrologer does. They're not mean and they're not bossy. They're just speaking straight to your soul. And you're like, oh, you are so right. See, that's another thing. I remember our session. And what happens to people that operate with unconscious trauma is they're afraid to let go, not just because change is dangerous, but because they have a memory. And what I did was I pulled out that memory and I went, come on, you have all the rights in the world to trust. Everything you did was courageous. And then you were like, you're right.
It was such an incredible shift for me because it was just kind of like the validation and the power that I needed to make this big shift. And the one thing that stuck with me is when you said, you are safe. You're safe. And I love when you talk about how trauma is ingrained with us. And you call your new book, I Don't Believe in Astrology, which is such a paradoxical title coming from someone who's so immersed in it. What made you choose that title and who is the book really for?
That's such a great question. So I just want to back into your whole issue of you are safe. And that is in your chart. That's your unconscious wound. That's described by your Saturn and everyone in this room listening. You have an unconscious wound put in place by the stars that once your observer comes on, and we're going to get to the book because that's what the book's about, you realize, well, who told me I wasn't safe? And then you reinstated a new formula, which was a new mantra that I am safe. And sure enough, look what happened. You were
Mhm.
safe. Okay. So the book is written for people that are flirtatious with astrology. Like you've been interested in it, but you don't really believe in it, but you kind of believe in it, but you wish you believed more, but you didn't really study it yet. And it seems unbelievably vast and too much to study. Wrong. I make it super simple. And so I don't believe in astrology is my tickling way to get the people that don't believe in it at all. And that's one of my prayer is that people that will do believe in it, like you'll buy it and then you'll give it to your mom, because the people that are way out of the bounds of wanting to believe in this, the book makes it very accessible. The first half of the book is all about the design faults of the human condition, which are the thought processes that think we're not safe. Like that's an unconscious premise that lives in so many people's psyches. But until you say it out loud and turn to the person and say, okay, I want you to repeat after me, I'm safe. Let's do it. Can you say it?
I am safe.
Do you
And
believe
I
that?
believe it.
See,
Now I do.
that's it. So once we adjust the wound that was put in place by your chart with a confirmation or a mantra, and in the book, I go through every single Saturn because everyone has something in their psyche. I call them gremlins who are mean. And they wake up in the middle of the night and they scare you and they live unconsciously and they nibble on you. And they're literally there for your demise until you're awake enough because you read a book about astrology or you took a class about the Enneagram or you're studying the human design. There's the gene keys. There's a million versions, but astrology is the mothership. All those systems, the Enneagram, the gene keys, the human design, all are based on astrology. So go to the mothership, get the information at a basic level, and then go, oh, I'll pretend I'm you. My life lesson, Scorpio, and I scare the shit out of myself. I can stop that. Watch this. And once you're in the driver's seat and your observer's on and you're in the free will zone, the very thing that haunted you since you were a kid is put in its seat. And that's why this book is so important for the people that don't believe in it, because just that little teeny adjustment of Saturn frees us up.
Okay, so let's talk about Saturn. Why is Saturn important? Why does it matter?
Okay, so it rules. Saturn is, to me, the most important planet when I teach, and you've been in my classes. I do a whole class on just Saturn. Saturn rules the teeth, the bones, the government, and time. So those hard bones, like the teeth, like the structure of your house, the things you count on, have to have a relationship with the hardness of this reality, or you're going to end up being a victim to some part of it. So here's how I do it. I'm going to go through them just quickly for all your audience. And you guys, it's simple. You just go and you say the year you were born. If I was born May 1960, where was my Saturn? And it will come up. So you don't have to learn astrology and all the technology. It's in my book. In the back of the book, you can look it up. If Saturn's in Aries, you promise this life to be feisty. And those are the people that don't like to argue. If Saturn's in Taurus, you promise this life to be safe and slow, and they're usually speed freaks. If your Saturn's in Gemini, you promise that you would learn to talk and use your words, and they don't want to talk. If your Saturn's in Cancer, your emotional body was put in place by your childhood, and you're like, I don't want to talk about that. It hurts. But if you don't go back there and recover, you will be stuck with an emotionally vague, confused ouch. If your Saturn's in Leo, you came in this life to show off, and you're usually shy. If your Saturn's in Virgo, you promised you would be organized, that you would learn systems, and you hate details. If your Saturn's in Libra, you came in this life saying, I want to do relationships, but I don't. But I do, but I don't. So those people are really inconsistent. If your Saturn in Scorpio, it's scary. Money scares you. You don't know if you're safe. You feel scared for no apparent reason until you're aware of it and you go, wait, I'm safe. If your Saturn's in Sag like me, you say shit and you just spill the beans and you stick your foot in your mouth and you're like, I can't believe I said that. Well, you're here to be a shit disturber. Your Saturn's in fire. If your Saturn's in Capricorn, you came in this life to do work. Now you're either lazy and you've done a lot when you were young and you didn't want to keep going, or you're a workaholic and you don't know when to stop. If your Saturn's in Aquarius, you're a little weird. You don't fit in and you always feel like you're outside the circle. Well, that's okay. You can give yourself permission to be the eccentric. And if your Saturn's in Pisces, you're spacey and you get really scared and you try to act normal and you're not good at it. So you do your best to act normal when really you just want to be a spiritual woo-woo person and dream a lot. So every one of those Saturn cycles I just described when you're born under, it lasts for 2.5 years. So all the kids you grew up with had Saturn in the same spot. However, what house is it in? How is it related to your chart? And to your point, as a Capricorn rising, she knows Saturn rules it. It's even more important for her. But that's more technical. And I don't want to confuse your audience. I just want to say start simple. What is your life lesson, Saturn? Why is it so important? Because if you argue with the bones, the structure, the government, the buildings, you're never going to win. Well, why are you going to do that? Argue with life when it's so solid that you can't move the mountains? Shut up. Sit down and become friends with it.
I love how you talk about it's kind of like going to the principal's office, right? You got to go, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. So you can either be prepared or you can be shit in your pants. Your choice.
And so Saturn returned at 28 to 30. Everybody listening to this, Saturn's coming to get you. It's the principal. He's bringing you in the office, whether he likes you or not. Now, he could say to you, we're getting married. Or he could say to you, we're getting divorced, but he's going to come in your life and he's going to radically affect it. It happens again at 58 to 60, which is when I started my school. I'm almost 70 now. My birthday's coming up next week. When I turned 60, I knew Saturn was coming. I was like, like they're coming to get me, because that's what it feels like. The principal, uh-oh, they're coming to get me there. And sure enough, I started a school that's touched 8,000 students. I didn't see it coming. The same thing happened to Walt Disney. At 58, he started Walt Disneyland. It was late, but a whole universe opened. So Saturn comes in At 28 to 30, at 58 to 60, it returns to where it was when you were born. And for you, it was 2014. It will say to you, excuse me, excuse me. They don't ask permission. They go, excuse me, come with me right now. So what happened to you in 2014?
I was moving out of my house. I left my horrible job working in the prison system. I was going through a horrible, horrible breakup. And that year completely shifted my life. I found out I had equity in the home that I had. I bought a new house. And if I didn't, this house has been my safe space. It has been my safe haven ever since. And it's created a wonderful life for me and my daughter. But I had to go through that terrible time
Horrible, horrible.
to get
So
here.
the threshold of now, here's the deal, you guys read the book, be
Mhm.
prepared because it happens at 28 to 30 and 58, but it also happens every 7 years then after. But that's what you'll learn from our school. It's a 7 year cycle. But the Saturn cycle of the return, listen to what happened to her. And I'm telling you, this is why I believe in astrology because it happens every single time and they don't care how uncomfortable you are, but they will give you security on the other side. That's the crazy part. So you didn't see it, but everything worked out to your favor and you were safe. The same thing happened to me. I didn't want to start a business. I didn't even know anything about it. I was like, the lady said to me, how would you like to do an online school? I was like, a what? I mean, I was old. I was like, an online what? And then the next thing you knew, I did the due diligence and I did all because it was scary. It cost me
Mhm.
money. I had to hire people. I now have 50 women that work for me. But at that time, I was like, wait, did they say it's a business I'm going to run? Because I had been a healer up to then. So life comes in during Saturn cycles and they invite you to change. And it is a threshold that's scary. If you're willing to go through it on the other side, that school, which you've been through, it only happens twice a year. You guys, you want to come study in September or in January? We start the school every year. And there is the most wonderful occurrence. 10 people are in a room, your chart comes on the screen, and we study you. That's what the class is. You don't have to know any astrology. You just want to know your purpose. And we focus on Saturn.
For me, when I took that class, and I'm gonna drop it in here for some just a shout out for you. I'll do a little marketing because it really does. It works and it's helpful. It helped me to understand myself in a place where I was feeling stuck. So for someone who's listening, who is like, I'm feeling really stuck in my life. I don't know where to go. Things just seem to never work out for me. What do you hope that they take away from reading this book, and where do they start? If they were to do 3 things starting today when it comes to using
I love
astrology,
that
what would they
question.
do?
I love it so much. So the first thing you would do in the school is you're going to learn your missing element. So we know that you have earth and that you're a workaholic and that you get really carried away with practicality. You have one, two, three, plus your ascendant in earth. And then you have all this air because you love to talk and teach us all. So now we know, oh, so when it comes to Carissa, she has a lot of earth. She's practical, her job, her money, her security, and
Mhm.
she loves to communicate. She wants to help people, but it's got to be a money making prospect. She can't just talk for.
Like, I'm blushing because it's so true.
So those two, so the very first class in my first book is called The Missing Element. Don't get confused by please don't get confused by astrology. Start with the elements. What's the predominant element? Oh, she's earth and she's air. That's good to know. I am fire and air. So I have extreme amount of energy. You can't tell. And so if I don't run or play or swim or do yoga, I would suffered from depression until I figured out why I was stuck was I wasn't using my energy and I was full of it. But I didn't know till I studied the elements. So that's step number one. Go figure out your missing element. It's in a book called The Missing Element. There's no astrology in that book whatsoever. If you don't believe in it, no worries. You're going to figure out that model. Then the second step is there's three pillars: the sun, the moon, and the rising. What does it mean? The sun is your ego. She's a cute little Libra. Look at her. She always looks so pretty. She can't help it. That's Libra. Their life revolves around beauty. They are ruled by Venus. Well, that's really good to know. And then her moon, I love this, and her rising sign is Capricorn. So now we know she's double Earth. Her moon and her rising are goal oriented, and she worked in prisons and the government, and now she's working for us, trying to wake us up. I'll follow her. She's double Capricorn. So those three pillars: the sun is your ego, The moon is your inner world at night because the moon is up at night. So it's the inner emotional realm. But the most important, it's in my book, is the rising sign. Why? Because we're rising into the ascendant, it's called, to our higher self. Now, lucky you, your moon matches your higher self, which is, I'm going to do an excellent job and I can't compromise. She cannot compromise. She goes on a date after 2 seconds. She's like, no, like there's no vagueness about her. She doesn't go like, well, Libra, like her little mate. No, no, that's Capricorn. That's double Capricorn. Permission to say to her, to whoever you are, like, I have Libra rising, the opposite of her. I'm like, well, maybe. Like, I am so dippy that I've had to call myself out knowing the low road of Libra rising, not sun. The low road of Libra rising is everyone's so nice. Yeah, well, that's not true. And the high road is discernment. I needed to learn about who I'm really in relationship with, which is myself and my own distinction about my discernment. That took me years, said the 100,000-year-old astrologer. So there's a low road and a high road in every single chapter of the book. What part of you is operating with the low road? Libra, codependent, high road, discernment, Capricorn, low road, workaholic, worried, never has enough, high road, really organized and very safe.
So if we're talking about psychology and astrology, because I think they both have a place in the world, and you being a psychotherapist and an astrologist, in your experience, where does astrology end and psychology begin? Is that even the right question?
What a great question. Well, there's a dance with psychology that is very abstract because there's so many versions from the models that I'd studied in graduate school, from Gestalt to talk therapy to shamanic therapy to like there's but in astrology, the system's airtight. It's put in place 4,000 years ago. So I lean into the astrology as the wisdom source because it's so ancient. And once you study it, you really get this resource that's been informed through time. And then I go into the psychology of the day. So my personal preference for psychology has to do with the psychotherapeutic model based on the four elements that I made up. So I've taken my version of psychology in the book, but there's so many versions, but that's not true of astrology. In every model of astrology, Capricorn's a workaholic. There's no variation. So use the two as one as a wisdom source, and then two, you'll meet the right therapist, coach, assistant, healer, shaman, because you do your prayers. That's got many variations. And where they dovetail is to the degree the practitioner is living the embodiment. Like you can tell when you're with a therapist. I'm so in love with my therapist, I want to marry her. But I see her integrity. And I listen to her wisdom because I feel it, I sense it. Astrology is this ancient tool that has passed the test of time. Your grandmother knew what sign, my grandmother knew what sign she was. Like this has been with us across time. Psychology only began, do you know this? In 1930, the word psychology began. It was not here before Freud and Jung, and that didn't exist. So it's a new model that is being informed by astrology. And get ready. Carl Jung said, psychology will be a dinosaur science until it includes astrology. He was an
Interesting.
astrologer.
Mhm. I
And
love
Carl
that.
Jung is one of the grandfathers of the word psychology. He was there in the 30s in Germany with Freud. So he said it better than I can say it. Psychology will be a dinosaur science until it includes astrology.
And I love that he was somebody that was very into divination and other tools. And I think that, one thing I think for other people that are listening, you have to do what works for you. It's a tool, right? So if astrology works for you, use it. If therapy works for you, use it. But one thing that I have found as a therapist myself, as somebody who's in therapy, astrology has always been kind of like the rock, especially since I did the reading with you. I always go to my chart and I feel like there's always answers there. And let me give you a real life example, and especially for those of you listening, I'll explain how this has worked for me. So I have recently had a lot of fallouts with friends, specifically this huge big group of friends. And I'm like, there's got to be a reason this is happening. What do I need to learn from this? And I go to my little chart. I'm like, let me look where my Saturn is. Sure enough, and I think you can probably tell me and confirm, I think it's in the 11th house.
Of
I'm like, wait
friendship.
a minute. What does this need to tell me about my friendships? So, for someone like me who is learning and trying to figure out what lesson I need to learn from this, what can that tell me?
That is so brilliant. You nailed it. See, that's as simple as it gets, you guys. She's looking at her life as a theme. There's something that happens every seasons and cycles with her friends, which is, by the way, a sign of evolution. Nothing's wrong. When we get to a certain point of evolution, we leave behind the last version. And it's sad and it hurts, but it's really a description of esoteric law. Every time you go through an initiation, you'll look behind and see things have dated and you no longer seem resonant with what used to be familiar. So her Saturn's in the 11th. This is in the book. The simplest version is the houses. If your life lessons in the 11th house of friends and people and being the weird one out, don't be surprised if you're the one that's asking the question and realizing, oh God, I'm separating myself, because that's the house of Aquarius. So it's very profound what you just said. And this is very helpful. Like for me, my Saturn was in the house of money. It is in the house of money, but it took me years, to your point, like with the friendships, it took me years to realize, oh, my life lessons money. So I became very disciplined around spreadsheets and around my taxes and around being able to budget. And now it's become my best gift. So the same is true with you with friendships. You have to start using your discernment and consciously saying to people, I value friendship. My life lesson is friendship, but it has to be real. And as soon as it doesn't feel real, I will talk to that. Are you okay with that? It's happening to me right now. I'm going through one of those phases and I'm trying to figure out how to, because I love the people I love and I can feel the shift happening that I'm going through an upgrade. And I don't know how to manage it at the moment, but I'm willing to speak to it. And that is your challenge is journaling, talking to your 11th house, communicating to someone that understands you, finding peace with it, and then making the transition.
So, how do we start to radically accept? Because if I'm looking to my chart and I'm seeing that these are things I'm supposed to evolve with, that I'm supposed to accept, what happens if I don't want to accept it? How do we start to radically accept this? And what happens if we don't?
Well, first of all, don't resist the resistance. Like when you're sad, when you're depressed, when you're scared, like when I met you, all of that had to grow. That pressure of you feeling like afraid to leave your job, it had to get so severe for a double Capricorn that you had to get so uncomfortable that I could push you out of the nest. But don't resist. When you guys are upset or depressed or anxious, that is not to be pushed away, said the therapist. Stay with it. Let the pressure build. Let the discomfort be there. Let the tears come up. Go find help and say, I can't believe it, but I'm stuck. This is so peculiar and I don't want to make it wrong. I know it's an evolutionary step. And then at a certain point, and it's always astrological, I want to tell you something you don't even know. Your progressed moon, do you know this? Day is at 6 degrees. So in the next 4 months, because there's only 1 degree a month, you didn't do level two. So you have got there's only 29 degrees in a degree because there's 12 signs and there's 30 degrees in each sign. That makes 360. It's a whole circle. So right now you're at 26 degrees of one of the indicators of time, and as soon it's going to move into a new one. So you're at the tail end, 26, 27, 28, 29, and then you shift. And that's 1 degree a month. So we're in May, June, July, August, September, mark my words, your chart shifts, which is a sign of change. And this is what your question is asking. When it hits that point, right now you're at it, where it's just beginning to have the winds changing. You're going from a very social era, the last 2.5 years, your progressment was in Gemini, so fickle, talking to lots of people, learning lots of things. All of a sudden, by September, you're going to be like, I don't want to do that anymore. It's too scattered. I don't like the feeling. I had too many things going on and too many people. It's already
That's
started
crazy.
this week.
Yes. I have to tell you something. This is why it's so crazy to me. Like if you don't believe in astrology, just dabble in it. Just open your curiosity to be like, you know what? I'll be open-minded because this is a great example of what that looks like. The last 2.5 years for me have been extremely chaotic, big groups of friends, events. And for me, it's actually very uncomfortable. It's just too much happening. Now I'm starting to focus on my health. I'm starting to focus on my home. I'm like, let me redecorate this. Let
Cancer.
me make sure I'm eating Cancer
Cancer.
energy.
Your health in your home. It's just starting.
Yes.
And it's such for you because you're double earth. You're going to love when it goes into water. The last 2.5 years, it was an error. It was unnatural to you.
Hmm.
However, I'm teaching a class this summer on it. And it's just, you don't have to know astrology. This is one piece of the pie. You pull it off the puzzle and it gives you so much information. So you're calling me, we're doing this podcast right as you are transitioning into Cancer, bringing you home to your body and to your house and giving you permission to go back in.
That's so lovely and so validating in so many ways. So when we have, let's talk about practicality and archetypes. So how do we distinguish when it's just somebody's astrological energy that they came into this world with versus something that's more pathological? So, like, for example, is it ADHD or is it just a Gemini?
So funny. Yeah. So where it becomes such a great question to ask someone with a master's in clinical psychology. When it gets pathological, anytime it gets pathological, you will know it's pathological when it hurts other people.
Mm,
That's one of the clues of pathology. If you're a liar and you're giving yourself secrets and you're all working, but when it starts affecting your family and your relationship and the people around you and at work, or if you're scattered and you can't follow through, now, of course, it's going to affect the person, but they may not know it because you become so subjective for a Gemini. They don't know they're annoying until everyone starts saying to them, "Can you stop leaving your clothes everywhere? And by the way, you lost your purse again." It affects your outer world because they're now introduced to your chaotic. Whereas for you, it was like, oh well. So be aware that your effect, this is when pathology goes away. As soon as you start asking, how is this affecting my family? How is this affecting my partner? How is this affecting my sister? So if you're a Gemini and which I am, and you have the ability to shapeshift and change, and flexibility is my middle name, I can still do the splits at the age of 75,000 years old. That's a sign that I'm a Gemini. It works for me because my awareness is on. This is my book. I am observant enough to see that part of myself. And here's the part we never talk about. I can stop it. I can become aware enough to say, am I getting too fast? Did I just talk too fast and do too much information all at one time and decide that you're supposed to follow me and be interested in everything I'm saying because I'm so entertaining and I'm making myself so fun? No, no one listened to a thing you just said because you're moving. Okay. Oh, sorry. My awareness is on. That didn't work for you. So it becomes a compassionate door of awareness where it isn't just you doing you. You're watching your effect on the world. And that is the single ingredient of compassion, awakeness, mindfulness, wisdom. So if you have people who are self consumed, and they talk about themselves, or they move at their own rhythm and they don't call you back, or they're moving so fast and they're so scattered and you feel affected by their hyperactivity, becomes contagious. That's when you say, this is pathological. They're unconscious, they're self serving, and they don't really care about me. So, you guys, you know who the people are in your world that you love being with because they're awake and they're mindful, they're great teachers, they're great books you're reading, they're conscious, they're doing great movies where you finish and at the end you're like, that was art. That's the high road. The low road is self-service where it affects you and you feel nervous and you don't feel comfortable and you wonder if they are doing it to you. Like I have a really close friend who I adore, and her awareness is not at the level that serves us. And so I have to become the friend that says, stop complaining. But do I really want to be the mom with my friend? Do I want the level ground to be that I'm matching someone, or am I the teacher again? In that case, it's okay. But then call it what it is. And that's where you distinguish. Is this serving me and we're in a team sport and you and I are loving listening to each other? Or am I the one that's trying to help you all the time?
I love that because I think that a lot of us go through relationships and stay for too long or stay when things don't feel aligned because they have empathy or they think that I understand why they are the way that they are. And two things can be true at the same time. I can have empathy for someone and understand why they operate the way that they do and know that this is not good for me. And I had to come to a really hard conclusion with myself. I was operating from a place of always jumping in to be the person to solve the problem, always jumping in to be the
All
person to
care.
like, yeah, I'll plan. I'll like, okay, let me help you. But then here's the thing. I found myself sometimes building resentment because that person wasn't working hard enough, wasn't I was working harder than them, and I had to think to myself, "Carice, you're always probably gonna work harder than most people. So you have to stop expecting that because then you're always gonna be disappointed." And that was a me thing.
That's right. And that's why you're a leader and why you should be making money telling us what to do. Because you are a little bossy and you do know what you should be doing and you are the one. And that I was just saying this yesterday to my friend. How come I'm always the camp counselor? Why am I always the one organizing things? And when I realized years ago that is true of certain person and you're double cardinal, you're double Capricorn, then who are my equals? Who are the people around me who I can say, "Oh, you'll get the car and you'll figure out the Uber and you're gonna organize? Thank you." So I'm like, level playing field, 2 of us on the same game. And that's when friendships change, but it takes a lot of courage to be that honest.
So, is there such thing as unresolved karma? So if we are looking at Saturn as our karma and we go to the principal's office and we're just always in trouble, we're never prepared, at what point is unresolved karma going to continue to go unresolved, and what do you think happens as a result of that?
It's a very profound you're so see, I told you you're so good at this. Unresolved karma is called trauma. It's when you were in relationship with somebody that you didn't finish it properly, and now every Aries you meet bugs you, and you meet an Aries and you're like, "No, no," like Aries. Like you've got unresolved trauma that became karma with you with that sign, for example. Or unresolved karma. You meet somebody, they don't ask you questions. You're so used to that now you don't like them when you go. Instead of just being consciously awake enough to say, you know what, I've had a lot of relationships, to use our first example, where I'm always in charge and I really need to have a partner who can play with me. Now, unresolved karma gets erased when your awareness is on and you start noticing your patterns, hello, astrology, and they become endearing and conscious, and you can change the storyline. Unresolved karma, when trauma continues to repeat itself, it's because you're not even able to stop the game and take responsibility. Because guess who's responsible to change the unresolved karma? It's always you. And that's why we listen to podcasts. And that's why we read the spiritual books. And that's why we get the tarot cards out. We're trying to talk to ourselves to put our awareness on to go, what am I supposed to be learning? And that's how that's how you resolve the traumas. You go, I can take full responsibility. I am, like I tell everyone, I'm a codependent. I'm Libra rising, and I'm aware of it now. So I call myself out and I go, nope, we're going to the movies alone tonight. It's okay, Deb. And I go, thanks, Deb. Like I have my observer giving me kind feedback to reduce the trauma of my unconscious saying, and as soon as you become awake, and what does that mean? It means you studied your chart. I love what you said. You looked and found Saturn's in the 11th house. Your life lessons, friendships. That puts you into a calmer state with the free will zone. No judgments of them or you. The trauma diminishes when the judgments go away. And then the question is, what should I be learning?
So for those of us that have really rocky relationships with our parents, because I think that this is a really tough one for a lot of us who are trying to resolve trauma, heal, get better in relationships. I always go back to how you were raised. So, how can astrology help us to understand our trauma from our childhood, especially when it comes to that mother wound, the mother connection? How do we learn from that? Where would we go?
It's so funny because the moon tells you the mother and yours is in Capricorn, which is not comfortable. Like the
Yes.
hardest placement you can have. It's like, so I can look at the chart and look at the moon to see the nature of the relationship the person had with their mom. I also have a very difficult mother. That is put in place by the stars. That's a karmic promise. That is in the Akashic records. This person's coming in to hurt you. You're going to see if you can become compassionate. I'm going to say the strangest thing, but as soon as that person dies, it gets easier.
Wow.
As soon as my mother died, within years, first of all, through mediums, I heard her say she was sorry. Then I
Wow.
had dreams, and now I see that we had a contract and there's no longer an irritation. Now, I don't know if she came back to the house right now and started talking to me like she talked to me when we were growing up. I don't know, but I feel like the karma has been soothed with my
Mm,
own ability to find peace with my karma. And I
wow.
realized that she was an agent of an ally who said, I'm going to hurt you to give you self sufficiency.
Wow.
And it's taken me years to heal the mother wound. And now I can confidently say I am a really good mom and to a lot of people because I learned from what my mom did that I will never do that to anyone.
Yeah, I relate to that so much. It's such a difficult process to overcome what society tells you should be a comfortable relationship, but there's so much validation for me when I hear that and when I see something in my chart like, okay, maybe there's something here that I'm supposed to grow from. Maybe there's something here that I'm supposed to be a better mom to my daughter.
Look at your moon is in perfect relationship to your Mars and Virgo. Because they're both in Earth, your moon's in Capricorn and your Mars is in an Earth sign Virgo. You did mother brilliantly, took such excellent care of her. So you changed the karma. So this is where you don't have to call your mom. You don't have to go see her. You guys, when there's a dynamic that is painful that has been put in place by karma, do not ask them for dinner, but you can clean up your side of the street by owning the karma agreement that you signed, that she would hurt you so you'd learn how to be a good mom, and in your next lifetime, you're never doing that again.
Ugh, and stopping the process, stopping the cycle, right? Oh my gosh, I mean, a lifetime of, like, years of therapy, and then I look at astrology and I'm like, how healing that is. It's so healing. It's just because there's power in knowing that, like, okay, maybe I'm not broken, maybe I'm not my experience, I just have to learn from it. I just
Yes.
have to grow.
That is medicine. That is poetry. I just have to learn from it. Just don't forget, you guys, this is not easy. Can I just say it as an elder? Being alive is not easy. This reality, this world we live in is mean. It's just plain old mean to give us a mom like that. To have me spend the first 17 years of my life wondering why she was never home and having this icky feeling in my heart when she said she wouldn't drive me to dance lessons. And I was like, what did I do? And then going through the healing process of therapy and then remothering myself and then being the mother and learning how to change what? What this, they never told us. So I'm here to tell you the problem that you have is the exact seed. Your angst is your liberation. You use the pain as the trampoline to drop you into healing and wake you up. I don't know who made that up. I don't like the program down here. Just send me a memo. I would have listened.
And sometimes we have to jump in order to make the life that we want for ourselves.
Time we have to jump. And if you don't have inspiration, you call an astrologer. And I have some trained astrologers. If you don't know who you are, you take an astrology class. It's once a week with 10 people in a room. And you're sitting in there with your chart up going, my Saturn's in the 11th house. It's in Scorpio about trust. Well, that just helped a lot. Now I understand what I'm supposed to be learning because it's hard to answer the question without having some information to give you the cheat sheet.
For you, is there a part of astrology that you think is being misused and not used correctly?
I mean, it embarrasses me when someone says, "I have 6 planets in the house of Virgo." I like, what you 6 planets in the house of Virgo, what does that even mean? I have Moon and Mars in Libra opposite, I don't know. My Moon is close to my Venus. I'm like, "Can you stop talking?" Because it just is embarrassing. So, it's hard for me when people start to use jargon at a superficial level, and they don't know what they're talking about. I don't say anything, but you can be sure I'm like, nails on a chalkboard. So a lot of superficial astrologies out there and people think they know it. That's why my school, it's simple, but it's deep. The first level one, as you know, is a psychological entrance into your character. You're studying you. You're not studying this vague thing called astrology that's giant as the sky. You're studying your chart. You're answering the question, what's my mindset? Like as soon as you learn Mercury, where's the loop that my mind gets stuck in? And once you know where your Mercury is, that's a simple clue. I'm looking up yours.
Scorpio.
Of course. And that's now that echoes your life lesson. So she knows this. Her mind is susceptible to negativity. Once the observer comes on and she goes, wow, I'm doing that thing again, scaring myself. And then she can insert a new mantra. Wait, I'm safe. Excuse me, Mercury. You're not in charge. Sit down. And then she became so comfortable and that's what I'm telling you guys. I teach it simply. I wish that everyone had to take it in 6th grade because it would change our psychological patterning as a teenager. Nothing's wrong with you. And yes, your parents may be completely stupid. And so what? That was your teachers for you to wake up. I have this line in my new book that says, people are so stupid, they don't even know they're smart. And that's just dumb.
I love the transition with that. It's so true. It really is because the high road of Mercury and Scorpio, right, is what I'm doing right now, right?
Best questions. You're a great interviewer.
Thank you. And the low road, I've been there, has been the negative talk, the doomsday. Oh my God, my life is going to crash, right? And the high road is really transforming, even using my voice of asking these deep questions and having these conversations that change people's lives. So you get to choose how you want to use this energy. You're not doomed. You're not doomed because you're a Scorpio.
You learned about your Scorpio, you didn't know that you were prone. I mean, you felt it, but you had no language. Astrology is a
Exactly.
language tag the unconscious. The unconscious rules this reality. You can't figure out what your liver and your kidneys and your bladder and your blood's doing. That's all operating on the unconscious level. And it's genius, except when you become aware of it. What should I eat? How should I exercise? How should I talk to myself? All the awareness coupled with the unconscious becomes magic. I mean, that is magic. When the unconscious, that's what Jung said. Psychology is the function of psychology is to make the unconscious conscious. And that's what astrology is for.
Mm. I want to close with a more diverse question for you. What's one truth? And I had to write this down because I wanted to make sure that I got this question really right. What's the one truth you wish every person knew about themselves the moment they were born?
It's simple. This was a volunteered position. Stop complaining. You wanted to come here. The minute you realize from the entrance of your existence, I volunteered for this position with those people and I wanted to learn these lessons. Are you sure? And if you really knew that in your heart of hearts, you would find yourself constantly saying, what am I supposed to be learning? And am I evolving in the name of my creator? Am I giving back to those that created me? But because no one tells us, we come in here and we're like so sleepy. It's the funniest thing. We go totally into amnesia. What's my name? Who's my essence? What am I supposed to be doing here? The whole thing is so confusing until you wake up, which can happen sometimes at 65. Sometimes it happened to me at 15. I had a spiritual awakening at 15 years old. I came out of it. I was a cheerleader and came to cheerleading that day and told the girls that everything was nothing and this existence isn't what you think it is. And they were like, one girl started crying. She was like, you're scaring me. I was like, oh my God. Well, that didn't help. It separated me. However, I woke up very young and liberated myself from bondage.
That's so validating because I just have to say too that I'm very I get into these like existential ways of thinking of like this is so irrelevant. We're all dying. We're all going to die at some point anyway. So like what's the point of this? Scorpio, I can't help it.
And
Mercury
then
and
the
Scorpio like I
other
go to the death.
That's right. I love that though, because I study death. It's one of my favorite topics. And you can see that on one of my podcasts was called Preparing to Die. But and what I want to say about that is profound. You are an old soul. You came in asking the biggest, fattest questions with that Saturn in the 11th house. Like your life lesson in Scorpio was to really help us. And yes, you should be suffering from the questions being so big you can't get the answers. And that's called humility. And that's when we bow our heads and we say, as Einstein said it the best, the more I know I don't know. But what I do have is my heart. And that I know.
Love that quote. I love that. That really actually speaks to me in many ways because I do feel very different sometimes. I think very different and I think about death a lot. Not I want to die. I just think about the fact that it's coming soon, sooner than I think.
my god, this is the funniest podcast. Just so you know, it's coming soon and no one gets out of here alive. Note to self.
Like, we're all dying, you know?
It's a very spiritual, it's very much part of the Tibetans. It's very much part of this new world that, there's a wonderful man you might wanna interview called Andrew Holchuk,
Okay.
Holecuk, and everything he talks about is death. I mean, he's got Saturn and Scorpio. It's so funny. Um, and what he's given me as a gift is the dream of this life is very similar to the dream of death. And once you start slipping between the dream worlds without resistance, like being able to remember your dreams at night and remember you're in a dream during the day and not judge either side as one's crazy, the dream world, and this one's normal, but it's crazy, but it's normal. And you start finding equanimity in the acceptance that we are in a dream state and God is dreaming herself into form that looks just like you and mine's just like me. And we become allies with the dreamer. It makes death and life very similar.
Yeah, that wow. I
Well, it
feel
changed my life. He changed my life.
I feel like too, because my South Node, this is probably a little bit more advanced for some of you listening, but my South Node in Scorpio, I just feel
Me
like I
too.
maybe have more awareness. Yeah, we're just more aware, I think, more aware of the death experience.
And there's nothing, you guys, if you're afraid of death, it's a really powerful tool to walk into that door and read about the Tibetans' practice of what is it to stay awake inside the death process? What are the bardos? I mean, now we're going deep. And so you, Mercury and Scorpio. But in the human form, we have a death when the kid leaves the house. You know, your kid grows up and you were so close, and then all of a sudden they go off and have a family, and you're like, where do you live? That's a death. You have a death when your body starts to age. You have a death when you wake up in the morning and that day before you, which we just had the most magical day yesterday, and you're like, oh, no, she's leaving tomorrow. Those qualities of death become an ally to say how grateful you are for this moment.
I'm grateful for this moment with you, Deborah, and I'm grateful for you doing all the work that you do. It's so important. You're such a light to helping so many people evolve in their own life. And I know that it made such a change. You had an impact in my journey. So I'll always be appreciative of that because I don't think I would have taken that leap without talking to you. Maybe eventually, but I don't think it would have happened when it needed to happen. So I think the timing and the reason why you did it, we were supposed to talk, it was supposed to happen, and you were the person I needed to just help me say it's okay.
And just like today, anyone listening to this, you're supposed to hear this podcast. You're supposed to find out about astrology. And with you in the next 3 months, when the progressive goes into Cancer, you're going to say, wow, and you're going to go internal, by the way. So don't misinterpret that. Wanting to be at home, wanting to cook, wanting to play house, wanting to serve people's emotions. So these are all ways to make us accepting and in sync with our invisible friends that I always think are in my house.
Me too. I sense it a lot. Thank you, Deborah, for everything that you do, for coming on the show. And we will link everything. You guys go get the book and make sure you sign up for the course. Trust me, I've taken it. It is so enlightening and it is really about you. So you will learn about you. Thank you. And I can't wait to see where your journey heads. And we'll get back together. Another, we're gonna have to do a part 3 at sometime soon.
Okay, I love that. Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah.